Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming, and this is From the Depths and another fleet review for the Royal Navy forces I'm using in adventure mode. And I am just enjoying the sun on the back of what is the Leander class light cruiser. So as always, we'll go through a quick rundown. First of all, some historical background about this ship with some pictures. Then we'll have a walk around, the changes I've made to weaponry, etc. And then a little bit of combat testing, so have a look at the indexing and all in the comments. Description for links to various points in the film. As always, this is made with blocks, no mimics, so yes, there is some it's not 100% a accurate model. It's supposed to be historical representation. It is designed for adventure mode, so some of the settings and what has been set is for adventure mode ships, and it is designed also to really work in a fleet with some destroyers and frigates to provide it extra cover, and yeah, this is just a support ship for the fleet. Okay, so the history of the Leander class was, it was in the early 1930s, a set of or 8 light cruisers were of this design. There was 2 different types. There was some changes for a later group of build, but we're mainly looking at the first group. The light cruisers are sort of famous to the Leander class. The names that would get recognised was the HMS Ajax and the HMNZS Achilles, which, along with the heavy cruiser Exeter, were the ships that took on the Graf Spee in the River Plate, or Battle of River Plate. So that's the history of them. There was a few of them. The Leander itself was also given to the New Zealand Navy at the start of the war, and of the second group there was also some given to the Australian Navy. They lasted quite a while through the war. Some did get sunk, but the Achilles, which was the New Zealand Navy, eventually got sold to the Indian Navy as the HIMS Delhi, and served on for quite a while. So there is quite a history with these particular ships. They were designed as a light fleet cruiser. Armour was mainly just around the magazine's deck and around the guns, etc. But this was not a heavily armoured ship in history. It was armed with 4 twin 6-inch turrets, and originally it was single 4-inch 102mm AA guns, but they were modified before the war to the dual quick-firing 102mm guns. Other notable build was it had quadruple AA guns. Again, part of war modifications. Most ships from their build were updated with either the pom-poms, 40 mils, lots of 20 mils, you name it, it was put on there. Early on they were originally set up with a seaplane catapult in the centre, but that was removed during the war on most ships and replaced with more AA guns where the seaplane was. Other noticeable bit, it did have quadruple torpedoes on the flanks as well, so that on each side to do a 4 torpedo spread to be able to attack the enemy. They were quite quick. Their top speed was approximately 32 knots, as is in keeping with a fleet ship, so it could do scouting tasks and keep up with the fleet. So yeah, they've got quite a good history. I like the ships mainly because of the Graf Spee connection as such, and obviously they did last quite a while even after the war. So now a quick little rundown of the ship and the changes I've made. So as said, this is for design mode. I'll bring back on so I can see everything beyond the UI. So these are the 6-inch turrets. They're not a great rate of fire, that's my only downside on these, but they've been designed with, it says 179, but they're actually 152 mil, a 3-meter shell with good armor piercing. These are designed to go through at least one metal or take out metal blocks. That's the level we're looking at on this, and its own armor is one metal block, if we have a look at it, let's just do it, this is the easiest way, is one metal block, a sloped metal, and then wood. So that's its own light level of armor. So it's able to not quite defeat its own level of armor, which is basically one of the ideas of many ships. Right, what else have we got? Let's go and have a look around. So going around here, we have quad pom-poms, 3 of them. This was an upgrade that was done to some of the ships, and plenty of the good old 20 mils, which I am using in my fleet, which have the so these are the more accurate, with an AP head, but then they have a secondary heat penetration round to try and basically take things out in the center, whereas the pom-poms are just HE. Then we have these torpedoes. They're a little bit longer than the ones in the destroyers, so they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 block torpedo. I can't do quads, so I've done triples and made them a little bit longer, but there's one either side of those. Then we've got the 102s, which are the AA guns. So these are specifically designed to be fairly fast firing AA guns, firing a mixed round of APH. So it's got good speed, and if it hits, it's got a little bit of AP, but it's mainly HE flak and frag is where most of the damage is coming from this. It is designed for knocking down aircraft out of the water. Yeah, so let's have a look around elsewhere, because the rest of it was very similar. We have most of it is walkable. We have a transporter in the rear area here. Otherwise, we've got to go through this section to get to the front and see the other parts. So we'll just go through here, then around the funnel. So we've got one big funnel, which is one of the key design features I was looking at to I would say mimic, to make it look like its historical counterparts. And then if we go downstairs, we're taken down into, first of all, the AI room. So in the front here, we have got nicely covered in metal and wood, we have the AI room. So we'll have a look at the AI settings in a minute. And then forward of this, we have the armory. So that is the front. This is the B turret, A turret, the ammo customizers, and there is a fair bit of ammo in that front magazine storage. Let's go forward, and then we'll just briefly go and have a look at the boiler rooms. So it's got 2 boiler rooms, but they link together into a single area which goes up into the funnel. So that's the way in my head I have justified the single funnel idea. And then I'm closing the doors behind me, and then we go into, we've got 2 nice basically this is where the engine room would be, but basically it's a nice cargo area for the ship, and the second one here. So there's plenty of room for expansion of this ship, so we could put anything we like in here. This is the main turbine room. So we've got 2 small turbines which basically work if the battery is low. So this one here in cruise area is operational. It's not giving out much, doesn't need much at the moment. These 2 are in operational and cruise mode. This particular one only goes if the battery is below a certain percentage, which just at the moment it is, so it's charging up the battery again. And then forward of here we have the engine room and the forward guns, which I won't go into, but they are walkable all the way up to the rear area. So let me just put myself back into the seat. So from the seat, a couple of interesting bits I have set for this, for the fleet mode system. One is okay, for setting it into combat mode. If I go into F9, basically back into fleet mode if there's nothing in 3.5, that's fairly simple. There is a simple, if it's something gets within 1.5 meters, 1,500 meters, it will go into combat mode, but the primary is this one here. So this has a setting of if an enemy, the targeted enemy on channel 1 is of a particular volume, so it's saying anything above 10,000 meters of volume and within 3,500 meters. So this is aimed to go and direct, will only leave the fleet if there is a large enemy force out there, which is what most of the medium-sized ships you'll get, and its priority is for ship combat, large vehicles on ship combat. Otherwise it will stay with the fleet and just basically give its guns as long range fire support to the destroyers, which will go out and attack the smaller ships, but there's no need for him to leave this to leave the fleet if there's only small ships out there or aircraft. That's the basic idea of that. And looking at the AI itself, just to have a quick look at the combat mode, fairly simple. 2,000 minimum range. We don't want to get too close. Missiles will work at 3,000 and the guns obviously are much longer. Starts broadsiding quite early, 2,800, so that it can get the guns and the missiles off, the torpedoes off as soon as it can. I'm just going to change that actually and save that. Yeah, so let's now give this a bit of a combat test. So first of all, a little anti-ship test. Let's just make sure I'm not on any guns. Yep. So against a Steel Strider's Resolute, which is not a massive ship, but is suitable for testing purposes. So you can see there's a lot of this flak from those 102s coming out in the area, and the 6 inches are going to be basically working their way through the ship. Now initially you can see it hasn't gone into combat mode. If I go back here, it's not in, it actually is in range, and yeah, so this particular ship doesn't, as an example, doesn't have enough volume to actually trigger the full combat mode, as an example. So it has to be bigger than this Resolute for it to really chase it down. As I was saying before, this is designed as to work in a fleet, so I wouldn't expect it to be on its own, and the destroyers would be heading out to attack this. Now I will put it into, it has gone into attack mode. That's because it's got within the 1,500 meter mark, at which point it does start to try and hunt it down until basically it's dead. So now it will try and get a little bit further away. It will launch the torpedoes at it. And continuing to fire with the 6 inches. It tends to... It's got some weaknesses. It's not got good anti-torpedo defences. It relies on other ships to really, frigates, etc., to cut down on the anti-torpedoes. It's quite good on the AA, and yeah, the 6 inches do. Most of this has been done by 6-inch work, I think. Maybe some torpedoes. They do not shred, but they do work through ships' hulls relatively effectively. If you've got something which is multiple layers of metal, it will start having a problem, no doubt. It's not a battleship, this is just still a light fleet cruiser aimed to help support the destroyers, which would be out there attacking it, and this would be just staying a little bit further away using its guns at range. That's the idea anyway. So yep, that's given the basics. Let's try something else. So as a test of the AA capability, just brought in a Falcon squadron. We'll see how its anti-missile abilities and basic how these AAs work. It's not gone into a broadside at the moment because they're obviously quite small, but once something gets close, there's quite a lot of DACA comes out. The anti-missiles take a few of them out, but we did take some damage there, but not enough to stop us being operational. And both of those Falcons, I think one's alright, he's out of control, that one at the top, and the second one hopefully will get a nice when it comes in for its second run. But otherwise this would be now, if we look at the, oh, it has gone into attack mode because they got very close. But if we look at, where are they all? I can't find them now. We've got Falcon there, and we've got one which is, he's gone high. So yeah, again their guns, it's standard now. These pom-poms are at medium range, a bit shotgun. The 102s are basically a flak, try and make them go out of control, which it looks like he is gone out of control. And the 20 mils are the short range sniper shot. With their heat rounds, they tend to knock out internals of the ship, sorry, the enemy aircraft. So anyway, that's my Leander class. The last little bit to look at is the costs. So this is 188k, so it's not a cheap ship. In comparison to some, it's, you know, I think there's a lot of metal here. I could cut down on some of the armor, but we need it going through for the adventure mode. Total firepower 123 compared to the 188, so that's within the, you know, the reasonable rate. It's more than 50%, so you know that tends to be where I end up, 60 to 70% of the cost. You know, 188k, 123, I'm okay with that. Length 168, 2000, let's see how many, 6,000 blocks. Speed, it does go up to 27 meters a second. I did look at possibly increasing that a little bit, but I think 27 is adequate for adventure mode in the game. It cruises along at 11. Plenty of room for expansion on this. The engines could give out more power for shielding. As you see, those lots of storage areas for basically anything that we want to put in later. You must have seen this in the adventure, and hopefully it's working okay in the fleet. That is the hope. Any comments, as always, leave them down below. Any suggestions for next cruiser to think of building? Got some in my head, some more modern ones, but always open to suggestions. So, as always, keep playing the game and have fun.